What's up, everybody? This is Chris, and I'm back with another episode of Crazy, Scary, Cool. So the NFL season has officially wrapped up. The Eagles are just coming off an incredibly dominant performance. Um, yeah, I was not expecting that. The defense just really put on a masterclass. Patrick Mahomes had absolutely no time to throw. It was just insane. It was just like an incredible performance. Oop, let me get that. Yeah, it was just an incredible performance. And defensively, I mean, they were just lights out. The pass rush just completely took over the game in ways that you don't really see. So it was just really impressive. I thought Josh Sweat could have gotten MVP. But Jalen Hurts, I mean, had about close to 300 yards of offense, three total touchdowns, and an interception that really wasn't his fault. It was just a missed blitz pickup. But yeah, they just played lights out. That defense, I mean, I've just never, probably not since Kansas City played Tampa, have I just seen them just that discombobulated. Kansas City, I mean. So shout outs to them. Shout out to Philadelphia. Incredible season. Definitely got to be put them up there as one of the better teams of all time. Just offensively, defensively, no glaring weaknesses. I mean, I guess you could have said before the game maybe that the pass rush, but just looking at what they did last night, I mean, whew, I mean that was a dominant performance. So yeah, so the season is over. So now we can get ready for the off season and specifically fantasy football. So just wanna this is just a disclaimer. A lot can change from now until the first week of September. A ton can change. So probably gonna do updates, but definitely I think it can be beneficial just to give my knee jerk reactions to the coming up season and what I think will happen. So yeah, I'm just gonna. So this first video is just gonna be players who had a down year, who I think can bounce back. So not every single player had like a straight up bad season, but maybe they just failed to reach expectations based on what they've done in the past. So it's not all going to be so if you hear a guy, I'm not necessarily saying that he was trash this year, just more so that I think that he'll get back to the status that we have been used to him playing at. So the first player is going to be Christian McCaffrey. Now I'm going to be contradicting myself. I'm not sure if he's going to go back to that 2023 MVP caliber level, just because he has had just such an injury riddled season. So it's always a little bit kind of spooky and hairy to see like with a running back coming back from injuries. But I do think that Christian McCaffrey can get back to playing at a very high level. And Christian McCaffrey, even if he's not quite 100% from what we've seen him at, he can still be a very good fantasy football player. Anytime you have a dual threat back, I mean, he's always going to have high value. He's one of the most gifted players in the football in the league today. The issue with him is just going to be health. I would say one thing that will give me some trepidation is that as it stands now, the 49ers have somewhat of a stacked receiving room. Oh, I thought I was about to sneeze, but sorry. But so you have Brandon Ayuk, Samuel, Ricky Purcell, Juan Jennings, and then George Kittle. So five other guys who could siphon targets away from CMC. But he's always going to be featured pretty heavily, assuming that he's healthy. Jordan Mason showed a lot, so I imagine that he's not going to like totally not get phased out of the offense. But I still think that Christian McCaffrey will get his touches. Um, I've been hearing reports that Debo Samuel could get traded, which I think makes sense for both sides. But when the 49ers are at their best, even with so many mouths to feed now, I think that they're at their best when Christian McCaffrey is featured heavily in the offense. So, assuming that he's healthy, I think they're going to feature him back in the offense. I would take him in the third round. Um, Again, I will monitor the offseason, see how he's recovering. The 49ers did lie about him last year. he said that if when he sat out the preseason, that if it was a regular season game, he would have played. The 49ers gave no indication that he was going to be out for as long as he did. So they weren't very forthcoming. So there is some risk, like with the reports coming out, but assuming that he is coming back to health, again, that's a big if I wouldn't be out on him. I think that he can recover, and if he does, I think he can give some great value. The next player I'm going to say is Brees Hall. Brees Hall, I mean, he has the speed, the tackle breaking ability, the agility, pass catching, um, and the elusiveness. He's truly a complete back, and he didn't show it in 2024. The Jets were just a mess. He really, really underachieved. But I think that's going to be more indicative of that Aaron Rodgers just wasn't as dynamic as he normally has. He also didn't incorporate Brees Hall into the passing game as much. The Jets were just a mess. Aaron Rodgers was bad. The offensive line wasn't really that good. I think I don't have his numbers in front of me. I think Brees only had one 100-yard game, and that was early on. He's a really good pass catcher, and they didn't incorporate him as much as I thought. The Jets really just did not have like any offensive identity. Didn't look like they had any philosophy, like no creative play calling. So I would again monitor the quarterback situation. I don't think that Aaron Rodgers is going to come back. I'm not if I'm the Jets. I'm not sure if I want him back. If he does come back, I will probably wait on Brees Hall. But I think if 2023 showed you that pretty much Brees Hall, if you get him the ball, even with a bad quarterback, not named Aaron Rodgers, that he can still be successful. So I wouldn't be totally out on him. Last season was just such a mess, and that offense was just really so anemic. Um, he's a talented player, so I would bank on the talent. He's someone else that I might shoot for in the third round. You know, he's a starting back. I would also just keep Braylon Allen was in the mix. I would see if that becomes a committee, then yeah, I would slide on him. But if the Jets are still all in on Brees, he's an incredible talent. And if one thing that I found in fantasy football is that you really do have to just bank on the talent. Especially this past season, like the talent just really wins out, and he has it. So he's someone else that I think could bounce back. I think that there are a lot of question marks, a lot of caveats with him, but he's someone else that I wouldn't be totally out on. Next is DJ Moore. The Bears, of course, got Ben Johnson, who is a great play caller. We're going to see him as a coach, but he's a great play caller. He's probably going to be an improvement from what the Bears had last year. DJ Moore was very misused. Um, I think that he's someone that you definitely want to get the ball to in space, a lot of quick throws, and definitely try to use his tackle breaking ability. He's a very quick receiver. He's 6 feet, so he's a compact type of receiver. So he's a guy that you want to get the ball to in space. The Bears were trying to have him try to make some tough catches. It's interesting, like Rome Odunze, I think I'm pronouncing it correctly, and DJ Moore. I feel like they were both kind of like used in the wrong way. I think how DJ Moore was used in like the quick game is how excuse me, how Roma Dunze was used in the quick game is how DJ Moore should be used, and making some of those tough catches is how Rome should be used. So how Rome was used last season is how DJ should be used, and vice versa. I kind of confused myself. So I think that Ben Johnson has proved himself as a play caller in Detroit. I know just because he has success in Detroit doesn't mean that he will have success there. But DJ is a guy that I think is coming off of a down year that you can probably get late. And he's someone that, like with Ben Johnson, um, I think could be better. Now, also that offensive line was a mess. Caleb Williams just did not have time to throw, so they're gonna have to clean that up too. Because I mean, if you don't have time to throw, obviously, guys, I mean, you got to give your quarterback that time to throw. So need that. So obviously monitor the offensive line as well. But he's someone else I think that with a better play caller, just a better system, and Caleb Williams possibly growing in his second season, and hopefully an improved offensive line. So there's a lot of things that they need to happen. But just monitor that. He's someone that I think that could, bounce back. Someone else is AJ Brown. AJ Brown, again, he's an example of a guy who did not have a bad season. He missed a couple games, and I think that hurt his overall outlook. But the Eagles ran the ball so much. That again is probably not going to change. But he's someone that technically had a down year, and there might be some lists that have AJ Brown in the top 20 or so, top 25. If he's there, then I guess like you can kind of ignore this because I think that's a fair rating. But if you see some lists that kind of have him outside of that 25, I definitely think he has top 25 ability. He's a big playmaker. He's a guy that he just wins so many 50-50 balls, so many jump balls, and him and Jalen have a strong connection. And really, I mean, he's the clear number one guy. Devontae Smith is the clear two. Saquon Barkley, I mean, he's a pass catcher, but the Eagles don't really use their running backs too much in the passing game. So unless there's some acquisitions, like maybe get like a true like a third guy, um, I mean, I feel like that pecking order is kind of set. Um, they have Jahan Dotson, but he didn't really grow into that third role like I thought he would. And just with the way they run the ball, with Jalen Hurts running, with AJB and Devontae Smith, there's only so many targets to go around. So, but he's someone. If you look at AJ Brown's per game stats, he's still putting up some really good numbers. He's very efficient. He's doing a lot despite not having that high of volume like he did, I think, a couple years ago when he's had that record setting stretch of 125-yard games. I don't know if he's going to go to that, but he does a lot with not as much volume as some of those guys in that elite tier. But he's another guy that if you see him maybe like down in the 30s, honestly, I think that you could probably if you take him top 25, I think that you could get really good volume. He's someone just with his talent, that great offense, that if you see him kind of down on mocks, um, he's someone that actually would probably take above his ADP. But he's someone that technically I think will have like put up better numbers in 2025 than he did in 2024. Not because of play, just because of injury and because there's so many leads. Going down the list, I'm gonna say Evan Ingram. The the Jaguars were just a mess. Just one of the worst teams offensively and defensively in the league. He had a record-setting season in 2023. Don't think that I never thought he was gonna replicate that. I know that sounds like me playing Tuesday morning quarterback, but I really don't feel like that was sustainable. Getting like 116 or something catches again, 114, 116. It was over 110. I mean, that's hard for Hall of Fame wide receivers to do. So for Evan Ingram to do that back to back years, that was never was going to happen. Brian Thomas Jr. is looking like a great new star. So they have, someone else they're going to be getting the ball to. But honestly, I think Evan Ingram can bounce back and be like a 75, 80 catch guy. If you look at what BTJ did, especially like the last 6 or 7 weeks of the season, his numbers were off the charts. It was incredible. But that was with Mac Jones, and I think that Mac Jones was really just forcing the ball to Brian Thomas Jr. I think that sometimes with shaky quarterbacks, when they have that one guy that can kind of always get open, they force the ball to him just because that's easy to do. It's a little bit harder to go through lot harder to go through your progression, spread the ball around. That's what you see those top tier quarterbacks do. So I think that when Trevor Lawrence plays, when he was injured, when he comes back and plays, I think that offense is going to be they're going to spread the ball more. Christian Kirk, not sure if he's going to come back, what they're going to do with him. He's had two back-to-back lackluster seasons, so he might be in decline. But for Evan Ingram managers, that could be good because he could solidify himself as that number two guy. I think that they have two running backs. So with Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne, probably going to be running the ball, be kind of balanced. But I think that Evan Ingram could very possibly be the number two passing option for the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence has underachieved in his career, but he's still not a terrible quarterback. So you have a offense that I think will be better next year, and Evan Ingram could be the number two option for at least a solid offense. They're going to be getting a new coach. Trevor Lawrence has a lot to prove. I don't know if he is aware of that, but he definitely has a lot to prove. So I think that Evan Ingram could be someone that I think he's going to slide possibly, just based off what the Jaguars did last season and the fact that he was injured most of the season. But I think that he's someone that he could have some really good value. And with him, again, I don't think he's going to get like those 116 catches, but having a tight end that is heavily incorporated in the offense is very rare in the NFL. There aren't actually too many tight ends that can say that they're the number two receiving threat. So Evan Ingram, just based off of the role and the opportunity, I think he has a lot of value. So I would definitely take advantage of him. And then lastly, I'm gonna say, well, no, second to last, Devontae Adams. So he's someone who actually did very sneakily did have a really good season. It just he was on two very bad offensive bad teams. Um, but I think that he's honestly just quarterback proof. And he's someone that he actually did put up some pretty good numbers and he ended up salvaging his season. Reason why I put Devontae Adams here is that again, he got a ton of targets. And he still did have a good season, but what that's telling me is that he can still get open. And he just has had quarterbacks that couldn't always get him the ball. But I think he had like 145 targets. Like he had like don't quote me on that number, could be incorrect, but he got a very healthy volume of targets. And he was doing that in Vegas and then over for the Jets when they had Garrett Wilson, like he was still a featured part of the offense, was Aaron Rodgers was still looking for him. So he's getting open. Just wasn't able to get him the ball. So his numbers were solid, but not, of course, like what he was doing early in his career. Um, but the fact that he has so many targets, I think that's a good thing. That's telling me that he is not being phased out of the offense. He's still getting open, and I think that went like slightly better quarterback play. Again, like Brees Hall, monitor that Jet situation, see who's going to be the next quarterback. If Aaron Rodgers comes back, I'll probably take him in the third round. I think he still has good value just because he is kind of quarterback proof. But a new quarterback, even if it's like a young quarterback who is kind of unproven, if they got some talent, I might still take Devontae Adams in the second round. Like he's just a guy, like he's a wide receiver's wide receiver. He just really knows how to get open. And I think he's someone that like I would still feel comfortable taking him there. And then lastly, I lied before, but now definitely at the end, Patrick Mahomes. Um, the Chiefs' offense was as ordinary as it's ever been. I wouldn't count on that back-to-back seasons. Um, this is the second straight season that Patrick Mahomes has not been an elite fantasy quarterback. With this, I think with a healthy receiving core, with Marquise Brown, if DeAndre Hopkins comes back, and a healthy Rashee Rice. Travis Kelsey hasn't announced a retirement yet. Not sure if he will come back. Uh, even without Travis Kelsey, I like Noah Gray. He's obviously not a Travis Kelsey, but I think with that and Xavier Worthy, excuse me. So with those four guys, that could be a potent offense. I think that they're probably going to definitely address the offensive line after the Super Bowl performance, but with a healthy receiving core, um, with Isaiah Pacheco coming back, that could get back to being a potent offense. So, I mean, Patrick Mahomes gets drafted off of his name, but I think that with all the receivers, Marquise Brown playing a full season, DeAndre Hopkins, if he comes back, he's not in his prime, but having him play a full season, Xavier Worthy getting into the role that he was really meant to be in, and then most importantly, getting Rashee Rice back. Those are four really good receivers. I mean, that's a solid offense. So I would feel comfortable taking Patrick Mahomes, maybe fifth or sixth round. I would take some of the other true dual threats ahead of him, but I think that if you want to wait on quarterback and if you are solidified like with your first five picks with other positions, I think that he'll be a good quarterback to start. So that's who I have. So I'm gonna wrap this video up here. The next video that I'm gonna do are gonna be players that have fallen off, that I think are gonna stay falling off. So thank you, like, subscribe, share, do all of that. Thank you. Have a good season. Have a good day. Bye.